This is John Cole with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And in this episode, we're going to maybe check out some of the claims that the Nama Juicer company makes in this head-to-head comparison juice-off video. Today we'll be comparing the Namawell Vitality 5800 cold press slow juicer against the Breville cold juicer. Alright, both have cold in the name, and here's the fact of the matter is, you know, unless you're using a steam juicer or a champion juicer that does raise the temperature of the juice because it does create some friction and get warm, there's not a significant heat transfer between the juicers. So technically all Breville juicers could be cold. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there, in my personal opinion, that a high-speed juicer heats the juice, which you won't find on my website, but you will find on many other websites, because I think it appeared on one website and then people just copy each other. I've actually taken an infrared thermometer and tested the produce going in, tested the produce going out. Put a link down below to that video so you guys can see if you're interested. And here's the thing, right? It's easy to say a few words in marketing claims or in a speech or in a debate or whatever, and I prove it with my juicing videos. I'm considered the juicing expert, or the juicer expert, because I test so many different juicers and I show you guys, you know, and a lot of people complain, John, your videos need to be shorter, but I show you guys the truth, and I'm not editing out to make it look to favor this machine or this machine. I show you guys what happens, and then I show you guys my opinions and my, play-by-play of the juicers, why it's working, how it's working, with some background information that I've learned over the years from actually juicing for the last 25 years now, pretty much straight. And even before that, I was juicing as a child, before I started juicing pretty much straight for the last 25 years, as well as, looking up and reading scientific journal published studies on juicers and juicing. My goal is to get you guys the right juicer by telling you guys the truth, and I think that is truly how we can all become empowered as people in our world, is to learn the truth, whether you're finding me, the expert on juicers, and showing you guys the truth in my extra long videos, as some people would complain. If you want to know, without watching the whole video, jump to the end, because I always have a summary which will sum up everything, and then you could go back in the video and you can see where I prove what I'm saying in the video. So I'm not saying any kind of rhetoric or repeating dogma or repeating fake news. I think marketing can be used and also misused, and in our current state of the world, I think words are cheap and a lot of things are said but not proven. And in my videos, you guys are going to get the proof right there and right in front of you. Alright? So a little bit of history here. So Joe Cross, who made the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which I encourage all you guys to watch if you haven't already. I saw it on Netflix recently. It might be available on YouTube or other places. It is one amazing documentary. The main issue I have with it is that Joe in the video uses a Breville high-speed juicer, which he loves. And, coming from juicing for many years, I did get into juicing with a high-speed juicer myself, actually, but this was back in the 1990s. Since then, juicing technology has advanced and gotten so much better since then, so I've never really been a fan of the high-speed machines. I'll say that up front as the newer machines came out. And I know for a long time, Joe promoted the Breville juicer. I don't know if he had any kind of business dealings with Breville other than actually making an infomercial for the Joe Cross Breville juicer that I don't think the infomercial worked out too well, and then later they were basically clearanced out on Amazon for less than $100 from what I could tell. So I know in the infomercial of Joe Cross, so the Joe Cross Breville juicer, I'm sure he got some money from it, and now Joe Cross is, investor or part owner or something, I'm not exactly sure, of the Nama company, and now Joe Cross is saying the Nama juicer is the most effective juicer I've ever used, is the Nama cold press juicer, right? And so I don't know Joe's experience with different juicers. I could tell you that I've used all the different major juicer styles and I have no favorites. I'm not invested into this company or that company. While I am a retailer and I do sell all the major brand models of juicers that that I represent and that the companies will allow me to sell if I choose to sell them. Some major companies out there I don't choose to sell for various reasons. Some major companies out there choose not to let me be a dealer for them for I don't know what reasons. Personally, I think that I can only say that some people don't like when I tell the truth about things and let the customer be informed. And despite not selling every juicer, I will buy juicers to test them. Like I bought this Breville juicer so that I could test it in this video. The Nama juicer was given to me so I could test it, and I've definitely been using it hard, as you guys can see, and it passes my quality control test. It is a quality machine. I will tell you guys that straight up. But I basically cut through all the rhetoric and showed you guys what actually happens. And to be honest with you, I've used very efficient juicers, ones that are even more efficient than Nama. You're gonna have to check my other videos for that. The Pure is the most efficient juicer, meaning it'll create the highest yield. Although I don't, the nutrient quality, that's a whole different discussion topic that I can make its own video about. We're comparing these two juicers today, so between these two juicers, I could look you square in the eye and tell you guys my honest opinions on this, and based on some science I've seen, the Nama juicer will make a more nutritious juice than a high-speed juicer. This is not my first comparison between a slow juicer and a high-speed juicer. If you guys watch my videos, I'm not a big fan of the high-speed juicers. I mean, the main benefit the high-speed juicers has going for it is that it is fast. You will not beat the Breville or high-speed juicer in a race if time is your number one consideration. Now, if nutrition is your number one consideration, then I honestly think you should get a different juicer, because while this will juice get some nutrients out of the produce, and while certain nutrients can be fairly high, other nutrients may be fairly low, as evidence. If I remember, I'll put a link down below to the video I made where I talk about the juicing science and some of the scientific studies that came out about juicing. And so, for example, they juiced in a juicer very similar to Nama and a high-speed machine, probably similar to the Breville. They juiced grapes, and they juiced the grapes with the skin and the seeds in there. And they found that when they gave the juice that was freeze-dried, so it was concentrated or dried and concentrated, to laboratory animals, which I do not agree with the laboratory animal testing, the animals that had, health conditions did not improve when they had the high-speed juice that was then dehydrated or dried and given to the animals. Whereas when they got the cold-pressed juice with a slow juicer, such as this one here, they did get the benefits. They did show a result. And when they tested the juice for different nutrients, especially polyphenols, that can be in grape seeds and, more importantly, the grape skins, that's where they found this juicer to be superior, because it literally grinds up the seeds of grapes. Not all seeds can be ground up. You need to remove pits and stones and whatnot. But when it grinds up the seeds of the grapes and the grape skins, with this machine tends to kick out whole, there's more nutrients in the juice that then can interact with your body to give you healing. That's why I got into juicing, because it allows you to concentrate the amount of nutrients that you are getting into your body. And it's these very nutrients is why I use a slow juicer to this day, because I know it grinds up and does a more efficient job at extracting those phytonutrients to give my body every possible advantage to heal, or whether you're trying to lose weight or whatever. These phytonutrients are essential for our health, and you're shortchanging yourself when you guys are using a high-speed juicer. So that's what I'm going to say straight off. That being said, if time is of the essence and, the nutrients not as important, yes, go with a high-speed machine. I would rather see you guys go with a high-speed machine than crack open a bottle of kombucha, crack open a bottle of soda, or crack open any other beverage, including coffee or tea. I believe that juice, fresh juice made with your own juicer, no matter the brand, is always better than those packaged and bottled pre-made juices or other things, although I always like to strive to do the best I can, and at this time I use a slow juicer, and I've been using the Nama a lot to experiment to find out its capabilities. Now, one of the challenges that I have with the Nama and other companies, like I don't like how Breville advertises this as a Breville cold juicer. You know, that implies that it gives you a higher quality juice, in my personal opinion, which is not entirely accurate. But at the same time, I understand their frustration because there's all these websites that says high-speed juicers heat the juice, which is totally not even true anyways. At the same time, Nama, you know, they don't actually make this juicer themselves. They have it made for them by another company known as Hurum, which actually makes some of the best juicers. I will say that up front. They import it, and they are basically a customer service and marketing company. And they use their marketing skills, including having ads. When I'm on any website, I see a little ad for the Nama to click on buy the Nama now. I know they're spending lots of ad dollars to hype the machine up. They've sent it to different social media influencers to get them to promote the juicer, and the social media influencer will get a kickback. You know, much like a retailer like me, if I sell you a Nama, I will get some money from selling you a juicer. And if you guys want to buy Nama, great. I would encourage you guys to support me and purchase your juicer from me at discountjuicers.com. This allows me to continue to make these videos to show you guys the truth, because you will not hear this from other social media influencers that only promote the Nama juicer, and the Nama is going to be the best juice in the world to them, because that's the one they're promoting. Meanwhile, I sell all the major brands that I choose to sell and that they allow me to sell to you guys, and I'll compare them even if I don't sell them, because I want to know what is truly best, because I juice like almost every day. I drink juice every day, and I make my juice almost every day because I make it in big, large batches. All right, and I want just the truth to be out there, and I want the consumer to have the knowledge they need to make the best decision in the world about juicers anyways. And I wish, you know, there was people like me in every different aspect of the world. I won't tell you guys what aspects those should be, so that you guys could learn the truth and make an informed decision. You know, I think it's quite sad that you could read a few things on a website and then you believe it, despite me giving you the truth. All right, so for example, I've had a video where I said, is the Omega VSJ 843 discontinued? The Omega VSJ 843 is my favorite vertical juicer at the time, not the Nama. For multiple reasons, I'll make a video where I compare the Nama to the VSJ, and you'll learn exactly why. You can see a little bit more about this, where I compare the Nama to 3 other vertical juicers juicing straight carrots. I'll put a link down below to that video. And in that video, I said the Nama has a 2-year warranty. And then somebody commented, John, the Nama has a 10-year warranty. It says it on their website. And I said in the video, the Nama has a 2-year warranty on the parts, but the motor has a 10-year warranty. I said that. But on Nama's website, it says 10-year warranty in big letters, and then it has a little double asterisk. And if you look at the warranty, if you click on the warranty, because the double asterisk isn't listed what the double asterisk means anywhere on that webpage, which I think is a little bit shady, personally. That's just me, my personal opinion. But if you find on their website what the double asterisk means, which actually I couldn't find it, but you could click on the warranty, and it clearly says there's a 10-year warranty on the motor, 2 years on the parts, although Nama says they'll take care of people after the 2 years, but that's not in writing, okay? And so, you know, that's because it says 10-year warranty with the 2 asterisks. Nobody reads the asterisks. Some other claims on the Nama website that I have maybe a little bit of challenge with is up to 60% more juice when juicing leafy greens. And then another asterisk. I couldn't find what the asterisk means, but knowing what I know about juicers, you know, I could surmise that up to 60% more juice when juicing leafy greens compared to like a Breville, and it's up to 60%. So that's like the maximum you could get. Maybe you'll get up to 60% more. Doesn't mean you're always going to get 60% more. And I don't like that on the Nama website. It doesn't say against other high-speed machines. It just says when juicing leafy greens, and that people might be tricked, in my personal opinion, to think that this machine gets 60% more juice than an equivalent vertical juicer, which in my personal opinion is simply not the case. All vertical juicers, you know, have a range. Maybe it's like plus or minus 30%. Definitely not 60. And in the test I did the Nama versus some of the other vertical juicers, you know, it fared well. But there was one juicer, the Slow Star, that actually even made more yield pre-straining than the Nama. It was the Slow Star. So, you know, I think that's kind of a little bit shady. Like, the only other people, in my personal opinion, from what I've seen, that make these yield claims are inexpensive Chinese machines on big corporate websites where they don't have any marketing behind them. They're just trying to make claims. People see it, and unfortunately in our world today, we're conditioned to believe whatever it writes or what is written on the screen or what you read or whatever you hear, because people don't fact check and people just buy the machine, right? I want you guys to do your due diligence, and that's why I make my videos, right? Another thing I say is makes up to 30% more juice when juicing, you know, the Mean Green Joe Cross juice. By all means, that could be totally true, and I personally think that they're comparing it to a high-speed machine, but they don't say that anywhere on their website that I could find anyways. They just say it makes up to 30% more juice. Now, I could use juicers that the Nama makes 30% less juice. And you know, in this video, we're going to see the truth when we juice carrots and beet in both these machines, if the Nama really makes more juice. Which, in my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to make more juice, but you guys are going to learn in front of the camera as I do, and maybe it'll make more juice. Another thing that is said on the Nama website, it says it makes maximum juice, and you know, that's not really defined. But to me, what is maximum juice? Well, maximum juice is if, like, the hydraulic two-stage grinding and pressing style juicer, such as the pure juicer that I also am a dealer for and sell. I mean, if they said makes maximum juice, I would just not argue with that, because it does make maximum juice in almost all cases, not all cases, but almost all cases. It does make the maximum amount of juice, because you can't really get too much more yield when your pulp is sawdust dry, but you know, that machine costs $2,300. They also claim that it takes less time. So, I mean, I don't know how they came up with the less time fact. I mean, they promote that you could juice celery without pre-cutting and other greens without pre-cutting, which will save you some time. But what they don't tell you is that this machine has the smallest feed chute that's available on vertical slow juicers out there. So to me, that means it'll increase your time, because you're going to have to cut up things like apples and even some fat diameter carrots to fit in the feed chute. They also make a claim that it has better flavor. So definitely I will say that the flavor is better when compared to a high-speed machine, but the flavor on all auger juicers, for the most part, but depending on what you're juicing and the style auger juicer you're using, is pretty much the same. You know, if you're using the same style auger juicer, or if you're using a twin gear or a hydraulic press style cold press juicer, then the taste will of course be different depending on the extraction method or the juicer you're using and the produce you're actually juicing. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the comparison today. So the first thing I like to say is that the Nama does have a 10-year on the motor and 2 years on the parts, which is 10 times or double the warranty on the Breville, which is actually only 1 year. You know, so I'm not a big fan of 1 year warranties. I want you guys to be juicers for life. Invest in a juicer, and then you're just going to use it for as long as you can, because you will see a difference when you start making fresh vegetable and fruit juices. I encourage you guys to juice the leafy greens and the vegetables more so than the fruits, because they are more beneficial to your health based on my research in most instances. And with a short 1 year warranty, say your blade goes dull on the Breville after, you know, on year 1.5, you got to buy a new blade. It's like $50, right? Meanwhile, on the Nama, there are no blades that go dull or wear out, because it's a different style juicer, right? So I think the warranties are quite important, and as such, the Nama that has a 2 year warranty on the parts, you know, that is not really competitive in the market with other vertical style auger juicers, which can be 10 years on the slow start, for example, 10 years on the Kuvings, and that's on the parts and the motor on both those, or even 15 years on the Omega VSJ 843 on the entire machine, you know, on the motor and the parts, whereas the Nama is 2 years on the parts and 10 years on the motor, which is actually, funnily enough, equivalent to what the Huron warranty is. So that being said, these machines operate in different fashions, and I guess we're just going to go ahead and take them apart for you guys. So first we're going to take apart the Breville to explain how that works. So on the Breville you have a pusher that you must use, and the feed chute is actually 3 inches wide in diameter, so that's actually quite big, that's quite nice. That means you don't have to pre-cut items too much to fit it in the machine. That's a pro and a con. And then what happens after you put the produce in the machine, the produce then goes into these little blades, and they're micro serrated blades, kind of like if you're shredding carrots for your salad. I was doing that earlier today. It really micro grates up your carrots or whatever you're else putting in there. It shreds it up, and as it shreds, juice is released. This is spinning at a high speed, 13,000 RPMs. And the juice then gets flung out through these micro perforations or holes in this Italian-made screen. I think it must be better because it's made in Italy. And then it comes through here into the bowl, which then it flows out at high speed. There's a lot of air pushing this juice out, and I think that is my main-ish concern with this machine, is that air pushing the juice out, which lowers the antioxidants because it oxidizes the antioxidants. And the other state is that the screen hole size is quite small, so additional nutrients can't flow through the screen. In addition, the grinding aspect of this juicer on some produce items, such as leafy greens, is really not efficient. It's not an efficient style for juicing leafy greens, and that's why a slow juicer will always kick butt in general over one of these style juicers. And then it just goes in this clear bowl, the juice, and then it's flung out. You'll see it running as we're running it. You'll see the juice flying through this housing. And then the pulp is then kicked out into the back into a bucket. If you have a leak, the pulp could actually literally fly anywhere because it's being flung out at high speed. Okay, assembling this is fairly easy. We just got to line this up and lock this in place. If the machine is not assembled correctly, it will not allow you to turn it on. The Nama works a little bit differently. There is a pusher, and I will say that on most vertical juicers, I encourage you guys not to use a pusher because it can encourage you to feed things in too quickly into the juicer. On the Nama, though, I have found that you do need to use the pusher basically more than on other vertical juicers because things will get kind of caught up in this feed chute and the auger, and it won't actually drop in like the VSJ 843, for example. That's my favorite juicer. It has a bit different design. This actually has a very small feed chute. If we compare that to the Breville here for you guys, so you guys can see that. Tipped up, super tiny. It's like, I don't even know, like 3 of these feed chutes would make one Breville feed chute. Now the thing is, while this is the one main feed chute, what you guys can't see is that there's a side entry feed chute that you could kind of put things in on the side. This doesn't really help you with a long carrot because you can't angle a carrot in there. But it does help you with something like cherry tomatoes or something like that you could actually just kind of roll in. It also helps you with something, if you are pre-cutting your celery, you can put the celery on the little tray and then kind of flick it in. So, that's how that works. And then after the produce goes in the machine, what happens is this auger is running at a low and slow 43 revolutions per minute. And this auger comes around and basically the produce drops down into the auger. This kind of takes a chunk off of it. And then it basically compresses the produce and crushes it and squeezes it smaller and smaller as it works its way down the screen. And then as it works its way down, it's crushed and the juice starts to dribble out the top first stage screen, and then it goes out the second stage screen. And then the juice comes out, and then the pulp then basically is expelled between the cracks of the screen and the auger where it is fully ground up, and then basically ejects out the pulp ejection port here. You also have a little lever here, unlike some of the other vertical juicers that you cannot adjust. This is actually adjustable, which is kind of good but kind of bad. Generally you would keep it on the closed position to juice. If the pulp is backing up inside, you can put it into the middle position, which is half open, half closed. And in some cases, you might want to just open it all the way up to allow the pulp to free flow if things are backing up and jamming. Although if things are backing up and jamming, just because you open this doesn't mean things will flow through, because you might have a lot of strings or something in your celery or ground up seeds that are actually getting impacted and stuck, and you could play with this thing all day and it's not going to help you out. Now at the same time this is running, you have this little wiping blade, so that's kind of a nice feature. This wiping blade separates out, and this wiping blade is spinning around on the screen, and what it is, there's 2 silicone little blades, and these are like windshield wipers for your car. So they kind of, help keep the screen clean down and kind of slosh off the juice so that it could come out, through this juice spout. Now I like this juice spout. It does have a little stopper here so you won't drip on the counter when you're done. Many companies promote this stopper as you could actually just let the juice collect in the bowl and mix it in the bowl. I do not encourage you guys to do that because I have found it lowers your yield, because basically when you do that, the juice is now sitting in the bowl, but then the new pulp is sitting in the bowl trying to juice out into the main collection area. And, based on my testing, the pulp will come out a little bit wetter because literally it's being soaked in the juice that's spinning around inside the juicer. Inside the Nama also is a bit different than some other juicers. It actually has its own little bearing assembly and little spline to drive the auger. So the auger underneath here is hollow. You can stick your fingers underneath there. It is actually one of the easiest augers to clean underneath the auger because the space is so large. I do like that. And pulp will collect underneath here when you're done juicing. So if you see pulp underneath here, it's totally normal. Do not be alarmed. Okay. And then there's a little gear on the bottom here, this little orange gear, if you guys can see that. That basically spins as the motor is spinning, and that allows the wiping blade to spin. That also means you have all these teeth on the bottom of the wiping blade, which is actually more parts and more nooks and crannies that you guys need to clean. So, and then assembly on this is pretty easy. You basically, the outlet port where the pulp comes out is always pretty much going to face forward for you guys, straight forward. Then you drop in the screen and the auger, drop that down, and then so on the housing here, there's a little line on the back of the housing, and then you align it to the left of the arrow on top of the motor. Like this, it drops in place, and there's also a little line here that you line up with the unlock, and then you basically turn this little line to the lock position, and the little two lines in the back of the juicer line up. If you've assembled it correctly, the machine should turn on. So this is a nice and quiet machine. I have a decibel meter tester, and so we're just going to go ahead and put that up and just show you guys what it is. Looks like to me it's reading like 61 when the juicer's running without me talking. When I'm talking it's like 86 because I'm super loud. It went up to 91. Now we're going to go ahead and turn the Breville juicer on high speed. And the Breville juicer is 81, so it's as loud as me talking, which would probably annoy a lot of you guys if I was talking all day because it's quite loud. This style machine, it's like 20 decibels louder. I don't know I'm not a, person that could tell you at what sound level you could get hearing damage, but this is significantly louder, so you will wake up kids, your family members, your roommates, your neighbors if you have thin walls. If you're juicing early in the morning, and that's another reason why I like the slow juicers. They are, in this case, like 20 decibels quieter, and it's not as hard on the ears. Now the next thing I want to explain is that every different style juicer, has its pros and cons, and it's good for certain tasks and not good for other tasks. For example, if you guys are a lady and you have a pair of high heels, and you have a pair of flip-flops, and you have a pair of nice flats that are comfortable, you would not wear your high heels to go to work where you're on your feet all day unless you had to dress up for your job. You would not wear your high heels to the beach. The high heels would sink into the sand and it would be really funny. I'll have to try that one day. You would wear your flip-flops. And likewise, there's certain things that you wouldn't really want to juice in a high-speed juicer, in my personal opinion, like leafy greens. Leafy greens are like wearing high heels to the beach. Leafy greens, on the other hand, are like wearing your flip-flops to the beach with a Nama juicer because it is so efficient, Something like carrots. Carrots might be like your flats. You could wear your flats to the beach. I've worn just standard tennis shoes to the beach. You might get some sand in there if you're not careful. But carrots in the Nama is like, your flats on the beach. Carrots in the Breville is actually kind of more like flip-flops on the beach because this style machine is really designed and apt to juice carrots. The only better juicer for juicing carrots, in my opinion, than a high-speed machine because it really works well on that hard root texture. The Nama and other slow juicers, from my past experience, doesn't tend to grind up the carrots pulp as fine, so it does not make as high of a yield, although it does make a higher nutritional quality. And then something like fruits could totally juice in a Breville, and actually soft fruits will juice better in a Breville high-speed machine because they'll actually juice soft fruits. If you put soft fruits like a soft apple through the Nama, it'll make more of an applesauce, and you're more likely to complain if you don't want an applesauce consistency. It will put, also if you're looking at pulp, like the Breville will always put less pulp in the juice because of the small mesh screen. Due to this style machine, this machine will put more pulp in the juice than the Breville, especially with softer items. So like if you have soft cucumbers or soft apples, this machine is more likely to put more pulp in your juice. That may not be desirable for some, although the Nama will make a higher yield, in general on fruits, except that they're super mushy, then it's going to just come out mush juice, which I don't know if you'd count that as a yield. So it's very important to select your fruits for juicing, whether it's apples or pears or cucumbers or even tomatoes. Select them as hard, as firm as possible for the best results. And I always encourage you guys to select nice firm produce and fresh produce for juicing. I do not encourage to juice things like thawed out frozen vegetables or old vegetables. They don't tend to juice as well. And of course, when juicing in the Nama, because it is a vertical juicer, I do encourage you guys to use my juicing techniques. And I encourage you guys not to buy a Nama or any other vertical juicer unless you watch my video. I'll put a link down below if I remember. Juice like a pro in any vertical slow juicer. These are the techniques that I share with everybody so that you guys can get the best performance out of your Nama. There's many people that love the Nama according to some of the reviews, but also I just, talked to somebody who's on some Facebook group and this and that. And, there's a lot of people also not happy with the Nama. And in my opinion, that's because maybe Nama sets really high expectations and may not always deliver on them. Based on some of the claims on their website and whatnot. I did have a part on my Nama break, and I did call them up, and I didn't get a return call until they watched my video, and then I got the part like the next day. So I always encourage you guys to call and email the companies if you do have problems to get service. That being said, instead of over-promising and under-delivering, my goal is to under-promise and over-deliver. Right? I tell you guys exactly what you guys need to do, and if you guys do what I say when using the juicers, you're gonna have the best time at juicing and hopefully be satisfied. I like to say that I have a very high satisfaction rate because people take the time to watch my long videos such as this because there are little tidbits that you'll pick up on that nobody else is gonna share with you guys. Right? Whether it's good or bad, I tell my truth, and this may not be the truth to Nama or Breville or anybody else. But this is my truth, and I'm going to prove it by juicing in these two juicers in just a minute so you guys can see what actually happens. So what we're going to do next, we're going to go ahead and put my money where my mouth is and show you guys exactly what happens when you juice the same amount of carrots and beet in each of the machines. So the first step is let's do a weigh-in, let's get the produce out, and let's get set up to juice. So now we're all ready for the weigh-in, so let's go ahead and do a close-up on the scales to make sure we have a fair fight. Alright, coming in on the scales over on the Breville side, looks like we have 13 grams. Over on the Nama side, once again 13 grams. We got organic carrots and half a beet, even amounts in both. And to show you guys, we have 13 on both scales. So it definitely looks like we have a fair fight. Alright, now that we got a fair weigh-in, we're going to go ahead and remove these scales and get them out of the equation, and we're going to get juicing. So I have a stopwatch here so you guys could see how long it takes to juice in each machine. I think I will go ahead and juice in the Breville high-speed juicer first. Of course, that will take the least amount of time. We're going to go ahead and put it on the high speed, which is used for the hard root vegetables such as the carrots and beets that we're juicing today. And I guess without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to hit start, turn on the machine on high, let it get up to speed, and we're going to feed these carrots in. It'll be one at a time. Alright, last carrot going in the Breville. As you guys can see, the juice is literally being whipped around and flung out into the collection cup. You can see we have some different drips on the table here because of that. We're going to go ahead and let that stop, and we're going to go ahead and hit the stop button on here. So it looks like it took about 1.5 minutes to juice in the Breville. That's actually fairly fast. I could have went faster. I could have put like more than 1 carrot in at a time, but I just wanted to make sure I got a good comparison. I juiced one at a time. You know, at a fairly moderate clip, not too fast, not too slow. And of course, on the Breville, I like to tip this guy up and see if there's any leftover juice in the bowl there. It looks like we made approximately 2.5 cups of juice. Next, let's go ahead and juice in the Nama. The chute is smaller, so on some of these fat diameter carrots, simply it will not fit in. I can't even put it in this direction, so I will have to use a knife and cut this up. I will include that with the time. You know, see that half beet that went in whole on that machine? It just definitely will not fit in this machine without any kind of pre-cutting, so this will take you more time, although it says somehow on their website, less time. So anyways, let's see the truth and what happens. We're going to go ahead and turn this on and turn it on, and we're going to drop a carrot in there that's a small diameter, and we're just going to go ahead and let it feed in itself. I do not encourage you guys to use a pusher when using a vertical unless something is getting stuck up in the chute. As that's going, I can multitask and use a knife to cut up my beet into smaller pieces. I'm going to go ahead and take a beet. I always encourage you guys to rotate the produce you guys are putting in the machine. This carrot will not fit in, so we just got to shove it past in there, and it kind of grates it up. And then we'll let it sit in there, and because it's too fat of a diameter, you guys can see it's not dropping in like on other juicers. We reposition it, still is not dropping in, so we're going to give it a little push. Once it gets chopped down a little bit smaller, then it'll feed in a little bit better. This carrot drops in fine. Let's see if that works. No problem. As that's working, we're going to go ahead and pre-cut some of these carrots so that they will fit in the machine. You always want to slow down when using a slow juicer. These are not fast juicers. It doesn't mean you can just start cramming stuff in as fast as you can. If you do that, you are asking for trouble. And I don't know if Nama will necessarily tell you about that, but I sure will. Because I've learned over the many years I've been using vertical juicers since they first came out, you know, how to use them properly and appropriately, and I make videos to show you guys how to use them. I don't just say the juicer and then leave you alone. I tell you guys, you know, how to fix common issues that you may have and how to get how to get the best out of your juicer, right? And I do this through my YouTube videos so you guys can become an educated consumer and you know, be better and more efficient juicers and get the most out of your produce and have the least issues with your juicer. This one barely fits in there. I'm kind of having to squeeze it in. And then on the big fat ones, I think that's part of the thing. If it's too fat for the feed chute, it literally stops up. So it needs a little bit of a push there. Now it finally starts to drop in. We'll go ahead and, after that's all the way disappeared, we're going to go ahead and drop in another beet, and we're going to go ahead and drop in the next carrot and let that process. So far so good. I haven't really had to use a pusher except on some fat ones. I've had to actually push in a little bit harder. This one actually doesn't quite fit either. This is the one that I pre-cut down, and now, oh man, it still doesn't even fit. I didn't even, okay, there we go. And that's kind of working. I cut the back end, kind of just flattened it off, all right? And then now we're going to go ahead and put that last carrot in there. Oh, this is getting kind of stuck there. Help that along. Drop this carrot in there. In general, if you want to juice lots of carrots, the slow juicers aren't the most efficient based on my tests, especially auger juicers. The twin gear juicers do generally yield more with the carrots. And this guy's a little bit stuck because it's actually kind of fat. On a vertical juicer, once you put in the last produce item, unlike a fast juicer, it's done fairly quickly. It does take a little bit more time to process, so you do not want to turn the machine off until the pulp stops flowing out of the machine and the juice no longer stops flowing out of the feed sheet. So this may take another 30 seconds to a minute. The worst thing you guys can do on a vertical juicer is put the last item in and turn it off because you are missing juice. The other thing you'll see is when you open it up, John, there's lots of pulp inside the machine. Well, that's because you didn't let it run long enough until the juice stops dripping and the pulp stops moving. Right now I can see the pulp moving very little. This will help keep the residue on the inside of the machine to a minimum. In addition, if you pre-cut and rotate like I say in my Juice Like a Pro video, that'll also keep the produce to a minimum that's collected inside the machine when you're done. It looks like to me it's pretty much stopped. We're going to turn that off and we're going to hit stop. And that took basically 4.5 minutes, so it took 3 minutes longer to juice in the Nama than the Breville. So I don't know how that's actually less time personally. So let's see, I then tip this guy up, get a little more juice out. And let's go ahead and put these juices up front and center so you guys can see actually which machine made more juice. Alright, let's give you guys a close-up on the juices. So over on the Nama side, let's see what it produced. So looking very closely at the measuring markings on the container, it looks like we made under 500. And it looks like, to me, I'm going to call that at about 465 maybe 470. I'm not exactly sure because it's not exactly finely marked. With a little bit of foam at the top. You know, all juicers will produce some level of foam. This also depends on specifically what you are juicing. If we go over to the Breville, let's see, did it make 30% less or 60% less like the Nama website says? No. Oh my God, look at that. It actually made about 500 milliliters of juice. So that's like, according to my calculations, approximately maybe 10% more juice actually. Although if we do count the foam, it did make a really big foam layer. I mean, look at that, from maybe 500 up to 660. It's a good level of foam. And then over on the Nama, of course, it made significantly less foam, you know. And a foam is basically oxygenated juice. So if you let the foam settle, the foam will settle into more juice, so it will raise the overall yield overall. And so if we let all the foam from the Breville juicer settle, you know, the Breville will create actually more juice. You know, probably not a lot, not as much as it shows there, because that's basically foam is juice with the air in it. You know, might create another, I don't know, 20 mil or something. But yeah, clearly you guys could see the Nama juicer actually didn't make more juice than you would think by the website. It makes 30% or 60% more, but in this case it made 10% approximately less. Alright, so as you guys just saw, the Nama that's supposed to make more juice made less juice. So why does the Nama mix up to 10% or more less juice when juicing carrots? They just promote what it juices more, so that's marketing for you. But I'm going to tell you guys the truth. You know, in general, I found that in the past, all single auger juicers will produce less yield when juicing root vegetables. So if you're looking at yield only as your sole factor, right, then you want to go with a Breville or a high-speed machine that generally yields more on carrots. Also, it's fast. Now, of course, the negative is aerates the juice a lot more, which is, to me, oxidation. These juices, if we tested the temperature, would not be any significant difference, so they don't heat the juice unless you run your juicer for a long time. That might, you know, get warm because you're using it so long, the bearings are getting warm and whatnot. But also the taste is notably different, right? And so let's go ahead and try, what am I going to try? I'm going to try the Breville juice first, pour this out, and it looks like we're pouring off the bottom, so we're just actually getting the pure carrot beet juice. We're not getting the fluff from the top. Wow, that's actually decent, you know. I mean, it doesn't taste bad. It tastes a little bit bitter, oxidized. I don't know if that's the carrots, if the carrots aren't that sweet or not. or if that's just the oxidative damage from the high-speed machine aerating it a lot. And in general, people say that the high-speed juices do not taste as good as a low-speed juice. I've done taste tests with my nephew. I've done taste tests with an audience where I juiced watermelon in a high-speed and a low-speed. And if you guys were here to taste these, I'm sure you guys would taste the difference too. But I don't detect any fiber, no particulate in that juice. Now, the interesting thing is if we used a sieve to straighten out the fiber, then the yield on the Nama would definitely be less, because I'm confident there is some, fiber or particulate in this juice. Wow, yeah, I'm tasting it. So that's not as clean, a little bit more rough. I'm drinking some juice already, but so we can't do that fair analysis. But yeah, all slow juicers also will put some pulp in the juice. Based on my testing, the Nama put some of the lowest pulp in the juice compared to other slow juicers. For example, I think the VSJ and Nama would be similar with the pulp residue in the juice, which would be the lowest amongst the vertical juicers from my testing. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and move the juices aside. We're going to go ahead and bring out some bowls here, and we're going to go ahead and take the pulp. This is the pulp that was ejected from the juicer. I don't think I could put all of it on here. It's not really going to fit. But we'll just put some of the pulp on here. Then we're going to take some of the pulp from the Breville. Now this is why the high-speed machine is more efficient at juicing things like root vegetables, right? I don't know if you guys could see this. If you guys were here, you'd be able to see it, but I clearly see this. If you look at this pulp and you compare it to this pulp, right? This pulp, if you feel it, it feels like, it's not dry, but it's like sawdust fine. Like the particle size is super fine. So that means it was more efficient at grinding up and extracting, some of the nutrients that weren't oxidized. Of course, it did leave, small little bits of carrots that did not get juiced. But when it did work, it made this, like this, I would describe this as a fluffy pulp like snow. I'm not going to say it's completely dry because there is some moisture in here. And depending on what you're juicing, it will be more or less moist. Whereas on the slow Nama juicer, you guys can see, it's not quite fine as snow. This is more coarse. There's more particles in there, although there's not any large chunks. And that's basically happens on all auger juicers. They are not the most efficient grinders for grinding things like roots, like carrots. So you will lose, in this case about 10% up to 30% yield on root vegetables, but you will gain more nutrition. Now, on the flip side, if we do juice leafy greens, the yield difference may be up to 60%, although that sounds like a little bit high to me. But it depends on the specific leafy greens you're making. But the leafy greens this is one of the most efficient ways to juice leafy greens. In a test where I juiced, the VSJ for 3 against the Omega NC800 horizontal, vertical versus horizontal with greens, they fared fairly equally. Actually, the vertical made, I think, maybe even a little bit more juice than the horizontal, which I was actually quite impressed with. So you got to match your juicer style with what you're actually juicing and the other criteria that's important for you. In the end of this video, I will sum it up. I will say that if I had to choose between these two juicers, which one would I get? Hands down, I would get the Nama. Hands down. Why? Well, the juice tasted better. Let me go ahead and taste this juice one more time. Although there was some particulate in there, I want to go ahead and test the flavor characteristics. Yeah, so I still get that like hint of bitterness, so that's not the oxidative damage in this situation. The carrots are just not super sweet carrots. It's just that's how it is. But in general, this juice, tastes better, although there is more particulate in it. This makes a higher quality juice. And the other thing is, if you are storing your juices, like I make juices in big batches and I store them, I would never store a high-speed juice. but I do in fact store my low-speed juices for up to 5 days. Put a link down below to the video I made on how to store your juices for up to 5 days under vacuum, so you guys can store your juices for longer. In addition, this was also a lot more quiet, although it did take 3 extra minutes. You know, for me, I am juicing for my health. I feel it is worth it completely to get a higher quality juice, even if it takes a little bit more time. In addition, the warranty on the parts is double over the Breville, and on the motor, it's 10 times as long. So it's 10 years on the motor on that, and there's still only a 1-year motor on the entire Breville unit. In addition, there are no parts to wear on the Nama. Like if you use your Breville a lot, especially juicing carrots, you know, you will dull your blade and you have to buy a new blade. And I even hear on some Breville models, some blades are not even available anymore. So it might be stuck with a juicer that doesn't really work because the blade is dull. And unless you're like a sharpening expert, you're probably not going to be able to sharpen your own blade to make it work more efficiently. If you're juicing fruits and they're hard and firm, in general, the Nama will perform better than the Breville. The Breville will juice soft things without issue, and it'll actually make a fairly pulp-free juice, although it'll be quite foamy, but it'll kick out pulp that is actually fairly wet. So once again, the recipe that you use matters a lot. So in the end of this video, I'd like to just reaffirm that I hope that all juicer companies out there would make accurate claims that are not meant to mislead people, so that people know exactly the truth, and that they don't make, you know, statements that may not be entirely accurate to kind of make people think, oh, this thing's the god, it's the best in the whole wide world because Joe Cross is promoting it, or because it makes up to 60% more juice when juicing greens, but they don't say exactly the situation or even have videos to prove it. You know, I would hope that companies would just be more legitimate and honest, and people would be more legitimate and honest in the world, and exactly say the truth and prove it through a video, you know, if they are making claims, so people could actually watch the short video clip or whatever, and hopefully they're not editing it to favor their video or whatever. This video has not been edited to favor any video, any juicer. It shows the exact results you guys are going to get, you know. And yes, I also understand it is all marketing out there to sell more products so so many companies could make more money. And in my case, I want people to buy a juicer that they could turn around their health. And from what I've learned, you know, the owner of Nama that started the Nama company also had some health challenges or opportunities, as I like to call them. And he started selling juices because he knows and is committed that juicing can help people. And he wanted to have a solid juicer to do that. So I think he's definitely meeting his commitment. Although I maybe rein back some of the marketing fluff, in my personal opinion, that's appearing on their website. So the question is, should you buy the Nama? So the answer is this, right? Well, the Nama is a good juicer. There are juicers in the same price category as the Nama that even have a longer warranty, 10 or 15 years, right? Every juicer is a little bit different. It has its own nuances, right? So I encourage you guys to watch my other videos so that you guys compare and contrast and see the differences between the juicers. This is one of many of the videos I will be having comparing the Nama to another juicer. I'm going to do the Nama versus the Slow Star. I'm going to do the Nama versus the VSJ43. I'm going to do the Nama versus the Kuvings, which is actually the wide feed chute slow juicer, so you guys can see all the differences on which juicer performs the best without any marketing fluff. And you guys could make the best decision for you and your specific needs, as each juicer has their own set of pros and cons. The main pro to the Nama is that it's slow. The main con for me is the small feed chute. That's the top of the list. Also the short warranty also I'm not a big fan of. You know, I mean, there's probably a few other small things, but they're not super consequential at this point. I mean, the cleaning's a little more difficult than the juicer I like to use, which is the VSJ. It takes me like about a minute more to clean the Nama than the VSJ. But other than that, it's a solid machine if you could deal with a shorter 2-year warranty and you want to give up a warranty length. So that's pretty much all I got for this episode today. If you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, please be sure to share this with people that are considering buying a Nama juicer so that they could learn the truth. If you guys enjoyed my videos, I encourage you guys to support me and make your juicer purchase at discountjuicers.com. If you want to buy a Nama juicer, the link is right down below. First comment in the video to link directly to Nama with my coupon code so you guys can get a 10% off discount when you buy your Nama juicer. When you buy the Nama juicer from Nama with my coupon code, they give me a little commission, which I appreciate. That'll allow me to continue to make my juicer videos. We also sell a full range of juicers on our website, discountjuicers.com, including the Nama juicer. But to get that special 10% off discount, you will have to go through Nama to get it. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. I'm coming out every 5 to 7 days. You don't know where our show up or what new juicers I'll be comparing or new vacuum blenders I'll be comparing that'll allow you to get more fresh fruits and vegetables in you in the best way possible. And make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. Also, be sure to check my past videos. My past videos are a wealth of knowledge, over 500 videos at this time on this YouTube channel, dedicated to comparing and contrasting all the different major juicers and cutting through the marketing fluff and showing you guys actually what actually happens when you juice in 2 juicers, as well as some of my commentary on it so that you guys can make the best juicer decision, because I know that juicing can change your life, and I appreciate all your guys' support that have purchased from me or will purchase from me in the future so I can continue my work to share the truth about juicing and juicers out there to the world. So thank you. So with that, my name is John Kohler with discountjuicers.com. Be sure to visit discountjuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.